There is a particular kind of weariness, isn't there? It's not the satisfying ache in your muscles after a long day's work. It's not the gentle drowsiness that calls you to sleep. No, this is a different thing altogether. It's a weariness of the soul, a profound, bone-deep exhaustion that seems to have no source and no cure. It's the feeling of running a marathon every single day, but you never seem to cross a finish line, and you can't even remember why you started running in the first place. You find yourself sitting in a quiet room, surrounded by all the things you were told would bring you peace or contentment, and yet there is a silent hum of immense fatigue. You feel it in conversations, a sudden inability to maintain the persona, to keep up with the script. You feel it when you look at the endless scroll of triumphs and tragedies on your screen, a feeling of being a ghost at a banquet. And the world, in its well-meaning but terribly misguided way, will offer you 1,000 diagnoses for this condition. It will tell you that you have burnout. It will suggest you need a vacation, a new hobby, perhaps a different diet. It will sell you 7 steps to renewed productivity and 5 secrets to unshakable happiness. It will, in essence, tell you that you are broken and in need of fixing. But what if I were to suggest something entirely different? What if that profound, unshakable exhaustion is not a symptom of your brokenness, but a sign that you are finally, truly beginning to wake up? What if it's not an illness, but a form of spiritual molting? The deep, draining, and utterly necessary process of shedding a skin that was never yours to begin with. You see, the fatigue you feel is not the fatigue of failure. It is the colossal, monumental fatigue of resistance. It is the exhaustion of a deeply sane person trying to exist gracefully in a subtly insane world. Consider the great social game we are all invited to play from the moment we are born. It's a marvelous, intricate, and dazzling stage production. There are costumes, scripts, and designated roles. There are prizes for good performances, applause in the form of wealth, status, and approval. There are penalties for forgetting your lines or missing your cues. Everyone has tacitly agreed to the rules of this play. The first rule is that you must believe with all your heart that the play is real. You must believe that the paper money is true wealth, that the titles are your true identity, and that the opinions of the audience are the true measure of your worth. The second rule, which is even more important, is that you must never, ever acknowledge that it is a play. To do so is the greatest taboo. And for a very long time, you played your part. You learned your lines, you wore your costume, and you danced the steps you were taught. You strived for the applause, and you feared the silence. And it worked, for a while, or at least it seemed to. But then, something inside of you began to shift. It wasn't a decision, it was more like a subtle change in the light. You started noticing things. You saw the cardboard scenery begin to peel at the edges. You heard the prompter whispering lines to the lead actors. You saw the genuine fear and desperation in the eyes of the performers who were most celebrated for their success. You started to feel the suffocating weight of your own costume, the itch of the makeup, the way the mask pressed against your skin. Your exhaustion began the moment you started to see the artifice. Because from that moment on, every single action required a double effort. There was the effort of performing the action itself, and then there was the much greater, much more draining effort of pretending to believe in it. Smiling at a joke you don't find funny, nodding in agreement with a value system that feels hollow. Chasing a goal that your soul no longer desires. Each of these small acts of self-betrayal is a tiny leak in your spiritual energy. And over thousands of days, these tiny leaks create a flood of exhaustion. You are not tired because you are weak. You are tired because you are carrying the immense weight of a double life. The life of the role you are playing and the life of the silent observer within who knows it's all a magnificent illusion. You are a lucid dreamer who is still forced to act out the logic of the dream for the sake of the other characters. Is it any wonder you feel so profoundly drained? The world of the sleeping is a world of frantic, anxious activity. It is a world built on the premise of lack. You are not enough, you do not have enough, you are not doing enough. And so everyone is running towards the next promotion, the next purchase, the next relationship, the next experience that promises to finally fill the void. The spiritual person, the one who is beginning to awaken, is the one who feels an overwhelming urge to simply stop running. But to stop in the middle of a stampede is a dangerous and exhausting act. The herd jostles you, it questions you, it tries to pull you back into the race. Why have you stopped? What's wrong with you? Don't you want what we want? Your weariness is the friction between your slowing, awakening soul and a world that is addicted to speed and distraction. It's the exhaustion of holding your ground. It's the deep cellular fatigue that comes from no longer being fueled by the cheap adrenaline of social validation. You have, in a sense, been unplugged from the central power grid. And you are now in the slow and sometimes painful process of discovering your own internal, self-generating power source. But this transition period, this no man's land between the old world of external power and the new world of internal power, is a place of profound tiredness. You are decommissioning an old operating system and installing a new one, all while the machine is still running. Let us look more closely at the specific textures of this exhaustion, for in understanding them, we transform them from symptoms of a problem into badges of a profound transition. You feel a deep and perplexing loneliness, even when you are surrounded by people. You can be at a party, a family gathering, a bustling office, and feel a sense of isolation so vast, it's like being a deep-sea diver watching a carnival through a thick pane of glass. This isn't the simple loneliness of wanting company. It is the loneliness of a different frequency. You are a radio tuned to a quiet, classical station, placed in a room full of televisions all blaring chaotic static. The noise isn't the problem. The problem is that you can no longer pretend the static is music. Your loneliness is not a sign that you are unlovable or socially inept. It is the direct result of your heightened sensitivity. You have begun to perceive the subtle currents of emotion and intention that flow beneath the surface of conversation. You can feel the dissonance between the words people say and the truth they hold in their hearts. You can sense the unspoken fears, the carefully constructed facades, the quiet desperation. And this sensitivity is exhausting. It's like having your skin peeled back, exposing every nerve ending to the raw, unfiltered psychic weather of the world. Small talk becomes a monumental effort, not because you are arrogant, but because you are acutely aware of the vast, important things that are not being said. You are tired of talking about the weather when there is a hurricane of unspoken truth in the room. This loneliness, then, is a sign of your integrity. It is the holy separateness that comes from refusing to participate in the collective pretense. It is the ache of a heart that yearns for a depth of connection the superficial world cannot provide. So when you feel it, don't pathologize it. Recognize it for what it is, the growing pain of a soul that can no longer tolerate the shallow waters. You are becoming a creature of the deep, and you are simply feeling the absence of the ocean. Then there is the exhaustion that comes from not fitting in anymore. There was a time when you knew the rules. You knew how to dress, what to say, and how to behave to gain acceptance. You were a perfectly shaped piece of a puzzle. But now, it feels as though your very shape has changed. The old edges have become rounded. Or perhaps you've sprouted new and unexpected angles. When you try to force yourself into the old familiar slots, it feels wrong. It scrapes, it chafes, it requires a painful contortion of your being. You find yourself declining invitations, leaving gatherings early, or simply remaining silent where you once would have eagerly participated. This is not you becoming antisocial. This is you becoming sovereign. You have spent a lifetime allowing the shape of the world to define you. You have been a liquid, pouring yourself into whatever container was presented to you. The container of your family's expectations, your career, your social circle. The exhaustion you feel is the energy it takes to keep pouring yourself out. The awakening begins when the liquid starts to freeze. It starts to find its own, solid, unique form. And this new form, your true form, does not fit into the pre-made containers. It cannot. Your failure to fit in is a declaration of your emerging individuality. It is the oak tree seedling finally refusing to be a bonsai. The process of breaking the pot is noisy, messy, and deeply tiring. You are withdrawing your energy from the project of being what others expect and redirecting it to the monumental project of discovering what you actually are. This is the most sacred work a human can do, and sacred work is often the most exhausting. So celebrate your misfit nature. It is the first, difficult, and glorious sign of your freedom. The world will tell you that you're a broken puzzle piece. The truth is, you've realized you are not a piece at all. You are the entire picture. Furthermore, there is a unique weariness that comes from a newfound and often unwelcome clarity. You see the game. You see the fear driving the aggression, the insecurity driving the arrogance, the hunger for love driving the manipulation. You look at the news, at politics, at corporate culture, and you no longer see a series of logical, if sometimes flawed, systems. You see a grand theater of traumatized children in adult bodies, all desperately trying to prove their worth, all fighting for control because they feel so profoundly out of control on the inside. To see this is to carry a great burden. It is the burden of the one sober person at a chaotic, drunken party. You can't unsee the illusion. You can't go back to the blissful ignorance of believing the masks are real faces. And this clarity is profoundly isolating and tiring. It's tiring to hold compassion for people who are acting out their pain in ways that cause more pain. It's tiring to not get swept up in the collective outrage or the collective euphoria, to stand in the middle and see the strings controlling both the puppets of joy and the puppets of sorrow. Your exhaustion is the exhaustion of the witness. You have been promoted from an actor in the play to a member of the audience, and not just the audience, but the one who has also been backstage and seen the rickety machinery. You are tired from the sheer psychic weight of knowing. But this clarity is your power. It is what protects you from being manipulated by the grand narratives of fear and desire that govern the sleeping world. It is what allows you to respond with compassion instead of reaction. When someone is cruel, you don't just see the cruelty, you see the terrified child behind it. When someone is boasting, you don't just see the ego, you see the desperate need for validation. This vision does not make you weak or passive, it makes you wise. It is the beginning of true, unshakable peace. The weariness is temporary. It is the strain on your eyes as they adjust to a much brighter light. Soon, your vision will acclimate, and you will be able to navigate the world with a grace and understanding that the sleeping can only dream of. And this leads us to the most intimate exhaustion of all, the exhaustion of ceasing to perform. For your entire life, you have been a people pleaser. Not necessarily in a weak or obvious way, but in 1,000 subtle, unconscious negotiations you make every day. The way you soften your opinion to avoid conflict, The way you say yes when your body is screaming no. The way you laugh a little too loudly or nod a little too earnestly to make someone else feel comfortable. Each of these acts is a tiny expenditure of your life force, a small tribute paid to the god of external approval. The spiritually awakening person reaches a point where the reservoir of energy for this performance simply runs dry. It is not a conscious choice. One day, you just find you cannot lift the mask to your face. The muscles are too tired. You cannot force the smile. You cannot feign the enthusiasm. You begin to speak your truth, quietly at first, and then with more confidence. You begin to set boundaries. You begin to honor your own needs, your own rhythm, your own silence. And the world often reacts to this as an act of aggression. Your silence is interpreted as judgment. Your boundaries are interpreted as rejection. Your newfound authenticity is seen as selfishness. This period, when you are learning to live without the mask, is profoundly tiring because you are weathering the disapproval of those who were comfortable with your performance. You are, in effect, renegotiating every single relationship in your life, starting with the one you have with yourself. You are learning to comfort your own inner child, rather than abandoning it to please the inner children of others. This is the work of a titan. It is the psychic equivalent of lifting mountains. The fatigue you feel is the burn of muscles you are using for the very first time, the muscles of self-love, self-respect, and self-possession. It is a good and holy ache. It is the pain of your own spiritual birth. So, what is to be done? If this exhaustion is a sign of awakening, how does one navigate it? The first step is the most crucial. You must completely reframe your understanding of it. Cease to see it as a problem to be solved. Stop treating it as an enemy to be vanquished. Instead, see it as a sacred signal. It is a wise and compassionate messenger from your deepest self. When the exhaustion arises, do not push it away. Do not try to caffeinate it or distract it into submission. Instead, welcome it, bow to it. Ask it, with genuine curiosity, what illusion are you asking me to release now? What performance are you telling me is over? What truth are you inviting me to embody? The exhaustion is a compass needle, and it is always pointing toward the part of your life where you are living inauthentically. It is pointing to the job you are doing for security instead of passion. It is pointing to the relationship you are maintaining out of duty instead of love. It is pointing to the belief you are clinging to out of fear instead of truth. The cure for this exhaustion is not more sleep. It is more truth. It is more authenticity. It is the radical act of subtraction. It is not about adding new spiritual practices or disciplines to your already overburdened life. It is about taking things away. Take away the obligations that drain you. Take away the conversations that deaden you. Take away the need to explain or justify your own soul's journey to those who are committed to misunderstanding it. What happens when you do this? At first, there is a kind of silence. It might feel strange, even empty. You have grown so accustomed to the noise of the game, the frantic striving, the constant performance, that the silence of your own being can feel unsettling. This is the detoxification period. You are withdrawing from the addiction to external validation. Stay with it. Breathe into it. And then, slowly, something new begins to emerge from that silence. It is a quiet, steady, and unshakable sense of peace. It is the peace of the deep ocean, which is not disturbed by the frantic storms on the surface. You begin to realize that your energy is not, in fact, limited. It was simply being squandered. And as you plug the leaks, as you stop giving your power away to things that do not matter, you find that you have an infinite wellspring of vitality within you. It is not a manic, hyperactive energy. It is a calm, centered, and powerful presence. It is the energy of a star, which burns steadily and brightly, not through frantic effort, but by simply being what it is. The loneliness does not disappear entirely, but its character changes. It transforms from the painful ache of isolation into the dignified and beautiful solitude of sovereignty. You learn to enjoy your own company because you are finally in the company of your true self. And from this place of fullness, you will begin to attract others who are also attuned to the same quiet frequency. Your connections will become fewer, but their depth will be immeasurable. So the next time you feel that profound, soul-deep weariness wash over you, I invite you to smile. Smile with the gentle, knowing recognition of a traveler who sees a familiar landmark on a long journey home. You are not lost, you are not broken, you are not failing. You are simply arriving. You are shedding the skin of a world that was too small for your soul. And the exhaustion you feel is nothing more and nothing less than the magnificent, holy, and utterly transformative effort of being born. Don't fight it. Rest in it. It is the sacred pause before your true life begins.